Thanksgiving, happy holidays. As of recording, this is the day after Thanksgiving that we are doing this little review. So whatever holidays you're celebrating, happy whatever. Yeah, and we are here to talk about Marvel's latest offering, The Eternals.
The Eternals.
Where they are really, you said it, and I kind of agree. They're starting to dig into the really, really obscure stuff. I remember before, a couple months ago, content creator Movie Bob did one of his long-running things kind of trying to explain the history of the Eternals, and it was just like, it was so convoluted and so just... and that has actually been one of Marvel's strengths, is taking these very convoluted characters and kind of whittling them down and rebooting them for, kind of modern audiences.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy being a prime example. Guardians was a very obscure and very convoluted title before they got James Gunn got a hold of it, and now it's a cultural touchstone. So I mean, so they've had success with it, with
bringing out these minor characters, which they would need to. You couldn't just coast on the Avengers for 20 years. You know?
Well, what I kind of think we're in right now is, I think they're in kind of a lull period,
right? Because,
like I say, the core Avengers are pretty much done.
Right.
They're setting the table for like
the
young Avengers, and
turning Falcon into Captain America. New Thor, which is
gonna be
Natalie Portman.
Yeah. Well, the whole Hawkeye series is about him training Kate Bishop, who was Hawkeye in the comics as well. So
right.
There's a new Black Widow. So I mean, they're
seeing what they're going to do with Yelena.
So
after Black Widow.
So I think they're kind of in this lull period until they finally get Fantastic Four and X-Men,
which
and running.
I am so skeptical about Fantastic Four because they just have never done it well.
Yeah, I agree, but. So they're in this kind of lull period where they're trying out a bunch of new things, and they've gone from like the A-list characters all the way down to the Z-list, and there's a lot of B, C's, D's, and everything else kind of in between that they haven't really touched, which is interesting.
Well, I really think what they did with taking on the Eternals was find a property that they could really do a diverse, encompassing cast, because there's a little bit of stuff for everything.
I totally agree with that. I'm glad you said that, because as watching it, I felt like that was kind of the reason this movie existed. And I don't mean this is a bad thing. I think it's a really good thing. That we've talked about it. If you go to recast any more well-known character in a diverse way, you're just going to have all this fan backlash.
So much fan backlash.
Justified or not.
Right.
But when you do it with a cast like the Eternals, again, characters that honestly
are obscure.
Nobody cares about. I mean, are there any really hardcore Eternal fans out there?
I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there are, but I mean...
not enough that they're going to throw a hissy fit like they did over Rose in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like they kind of said, this is our chance to kind of test the waters with all of these more diverse, let's count them down here. You have the first openly gay superhero.
Right, Faustus. Who's black.
Who's
also.
Black, so that you have a deaf superhero.
Right, Makari.
Mm-hmm. You have all nationalities basically represented.
You've got Hispanic, Asian, Black, white,
Middle Eastern, I think, wasn't the one guy? Yeah, not Middle Eastern, Indian,
Asian.
Yeah, Asian. So I mean, so you've got the whole rainbow there, and
and all personalities too. Because one of the things that we've talked about with other MCU movies is how the different characters really have different personality traits that appeal to different people. A Black Widow movie is not the same as an Ant-Man movie, but in this, you really did have, I mean, you had Kingo, who was comedic relief.
Yeah.
Kumail Nanjiani, who, I mean, got ripped.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, he was good.
He looked incredible and was very, like, had his typical awkward funniness that that flavor that he brings.
Yeah.
But then you also had Angelina Jolie in a very serious role, and you know, like, you had a little bit of different personality traits for everybody.
Which,
you know?
Okay, before we get into that, let's real quick, in case because we're coming to this late, we're one of the last reviewers to get to this. Everyone else has already seen it, so.
That's what happens when you have to wait to come visit me to go watch the movies.
but I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah.
But just in case people out there don't know, so the core thrust of this film is that they're really getting into the cosmic stuff.
Right.
So they're starting to introduce, like, the cosmic gods and the creators.
We saw with Captain Marvel and
but this is going
Loki.
even more into it. You know, so you have these beings, the Eternals.
The Celestials are the big gods.
Yeah, like the huge gods who created the Eternals. The Eternals come to Earth back at the dawn of our existence to protect us from the deviants. And they can't leave Earth until they're told to, so they're just here for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. And
basically from the dawn of civilization, because the first scene, it puts them in Mesopotamia, which is, you know, the cradle of civilization. And then they, you know, there's flashbacks to them being in different empires throughout the history of the world.
And eventually they all kind of break off and go their own ways. And then, of course, there's a big, you know, the big coming together, and they all have to go and reassemble and stop a thing, and, you know, typical Marvel,
right?
You know, plotting. So I feel, and tell me what you think about this one.
Okay.
I feel this movie, we were talking about the characters and the different character types. I felt like this movie was at its strongest when that's what its focus was on.
Right.
This movie was really great when all it was about the Eternals.
Right, when it was the plots, the actual story, like, it kind of was meh.
Yeah. It was,
a good twist, you know?
Yeah, good on, like, they lead you down the road thinking one of them is going to do the heel turn, and then another one does the heel turn. So...
Yeah.
So yeah, good and a good twist as to what's actually going on, but it does feel like it fell back into typical Marvel plotting. Right. And it really felt like to me that Chloe Zhao, is that her name? The director?
Yes.
Chloe Zhao? That it felt like to me what she wanted to make was this much more intimate character piece.
Right.
Where
you see the character journey.
Yeah.
As they come to their own specific realizations.
Yeah. And I feel like she had to kind of shoehorn in the action and you know the big final battle and all that. And it really felt like she didn't want to, because the best parts of this, like I thought, okay, so like the best parts I thought Gilgamesh and Thena's relationship, where Angelina Jolie's character is having a mental breakdown. Like,
yes,
definitely metaphor for like schizophrenia or
bipolar, like mental illness.
Yeah, and Gilgamesh played by what's his name?
So now the American thinks a lot of times he's listed as Don Lee, but he's a Korean actor who I am just
he's awesome.
Him.
He's so awesome.
And I want to say it's Ma Dong Sok.
Yeah, so we deeply apologize for mispronouncing your name,
but
which we are.
I mean, like, I have been kind of just enamored with this guy since Train to Busan.
Yes.
He was my favorite.
Where he kicked all the ass.
Favorite part. And still kicked all the ass and was maintained a heart. Like, he had this big heart through it, and I just loved him in Train to Busan.
And I just felt their scenes together were beautiful.
Yes, I think he has a rare talent for being the soft, tough guy.
Yeah, and I really wanted to see more of that, and I felt like a lot of the characters had these more interesting story arcs that were mentioned, but not... Personally, if it was me, what I wanted to see was just the story of these people being on Earth for all this time.
Right.
They touch on Faustus, Brian.
Oh, it's 3 names.
Brian Thompson. He played the podcaster in Godzilla. About him losing faith in
Brian Tyler Henry?
There you go. About him, his whole arc was that he lost faith in humanity after Hiroshima.
But then his family.
But then he had a family and he regained his.
Oh, that was so good.
But I want to see a whole story arc about that.
Oh yeah.
They touched on Sprite, who's the little girl.
Yes.
That
Leah McHugh.
That her whole thing is that she's a 7,000-year-old person trapped in the body of a kid, so she doesn't get to fall in love or doesn't get to...
I really did enjoy the Peter Pan Tinkerbell.
Yes! So there's all of these wonderful... And that's throughout the whole thing, the cast.
Oh, and Kingo!
Kingo!
Who stops being a godly creature to become a
Bollywood star. Which is awesome!
And his valet, Karan.
Who was hysterical. I loved them.
Such a highlight of the movie.
So, the cast is top-notch. This is a phenomenal cast.
And the character work was amazing. That part was great. And then the other part of it was good.
Yeah, and it's I feel like
there were just parts, and honestly, it was 2.5 hours. It really could have been a movie and a sequel.
Yeah.
Because, they had Bill Skarsgård playing Crow, the main deviant.
Yeah, who...
And barely...
becomes a secondary...
Becomes, sentient.
Yeah.
And, it's... You could have done a whole thing with that, because I don't think they really explored that background of it. Which, maybe they're going to do that sometime in the future. But...
You know what it felt like to me? The best comparison I could come up with for this film? This felt like the film version of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Okay.
Because... Now... that's my favorite of the books, because I love that it takes its time to go into the villain's backstory, and there's all of this setting the table for what's going to happen next, and it's more character driven than any of the other books, I felt. But when they went to do the movie, they cut out a lot of that to put in more action scenes. Yeah. And it's and I remember talking to people about it, saying, why did they do this? Well, they had to make it more action oriented for the audience. Why? This is the 6th book, or the 6th movie in a hugely popular film series. The fans are going to go see it, no matter what. You know?
They could have kept it more character.
And I feel the same thing about this one, is that Marvel, the fans of Marvel are going to go see this Marvel movie no matter what.
Oh, exactly.
And as we said, I feel like this film is really in kind of that nebulous zone before the next big event film. And I think they could have stood to taking some more chances and say, we're not going to do an action movie, we're going to do a character movie that has some action. You could have kept the action bits in the flashbacks.
More world building.
Yeah.
Kind of like Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Was a little bit more world building for Captain America.
Yeah, and just say we're gonna do something really different because we've built up that kind of clout.
Right.
And we have that freedom.
Which, they have done that. That's what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. They've done that in the past. But
I think with Guardians of the Galaxy, I think why Guardians of the Galaxy is different is, one, it was a smaller group.
Yeah.
You had 5 characters as opposed to 10.
We haven't even talked about all the characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Barry Keoghan is in this as Druig, who has, found his niche in Hollywood as
the creepy guy. Yeah.
And, he's popped up in just about everything, it seems like.
You got Rob Stark as... you have Rob Stark.
Richard Madden.
Yeah, I call him Rob Stark.
Yeah. And Kit Harington. who was barely in this movie at all.
But see, that I don't mind, because that is definitely...
I mean, they're building him.
I mean, I knew exactly, because I knew who he was playing.
Right.
When they cast him, like, oh, well, clearly they're setting the table. He's going to be
But I would have really, I mean, and I really hope that when they do more with the Black Knight, they explore more with Cersei and him.
I think they will, because I know in the comics he and Cersei are, like, they're a power couple.
Also, how weird is it that he's Jon Snow and Cersei?
Yeah, Cersei, and I was thinking that too, Cersei, or, you know, I think all Game of Thrones fans kind of creamed themselves a little when Robb Stark and Jon Snow were on screen, because I told you this, like, they were on the show, they were only in one episode together.
Yeah.
Like, they were only in the first episode together and then broke off. Right. So it was neat to see them together, but I know they're going to do some good things with him.
Right.
But yeah, I felt like they could have taken a lot more chances with it and trusted that, you know, we're not going to do a big action film this time. We're going to do a quiet character journey, and, you know.
I tell you what I did enjoy, though, was that I really feel like something they did well was identify each character's moral code and driving force and sticking with it.
Yes, yeah, they did.
Like, from beginning to end. And even when they take twists and turns, none of them are out of character.
That's true, you know, because one of the things I thought was interesting is that, so they're getting ready for the final battle, and they're having they're having the all is lost moment.
The all is lost moment!
When they're breaking up, and Kinga says, I'm not going to fight. He says, this is wrong, I don't want to do this. And he doesn't show up in the final battle.
Yeah, he doesn't
he doesn't pull a Han Solo. You're watching this going, oh, he's going to pull a Han Solo, he's going to come out of nowhere and save the day. No, he didn't. He said, no, I'm not doing this, and didn't. Like you say, he stuck to his moral code. It was very clearly defined.
Right.
And they stayed true to it. Yeah, that is very true.
So, you can see with Icarus and the decisions that he makes all the way through, Cersei and her driving, like, they really, like, the character work was immaculate in this. Like I said, like, they identified what each character was driven by, and they kept to it.
Yeah. I think the cast and the character work was phenomenal. I think some of the best they've had in a Marvel film.
Right.
I just feel like the plot kept interfering. You know?
I honestly was very happy to see Angelina Jolie back in a role like this.
Yes!
You know? Because I feel like it's been a while since I saw something with her that I really enjoyed, and it looked like she was enjoying it.
Yeah, same here.
Because I think she is supremely talented and extremely underutilized. Like, she's always been very talented. You might not always agree with the movie choices that she makes, but she is a talented actress.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And yeah, it was... And I also like kind of the casting of it, is that, you know, you had the two biggest named actors, Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie. They were not the main characters. They were... That's something Marvel has done very well, and I really appreciate it as a casting decision, is that they cast really well-known actors as supporting characters.
Right.
As the standbys to kind of say, okay, we're going to push these.
Yeah. Gemma Chan was excellent.
She was phenomenal.
Yeah. I really enjoyed her. And
she was the lead.
Okay, I loved seeing an Asian actress in a superhero role where she's not doing kung fu or karate or judo, or, you know, that she's not doing martial arts the entire time. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't stereotypical.
Yeah.
So.
And they moreover than that, she was the leader.
Yes.
That was kind of one of the plot points. They made her the leader.
Right.
Over the white guy.
Yes.
And that was one of the plot points, is that, well, why isn't the strong white guy our leader? Why did they pass it on to the... Yeah, I thought...
and Salma Hayek as Ajak, as a Hispanic woman, as, you know, as the leader. And oh, man.
And they did not... didn't change. What I thought was interesting is in the opening title scroll, they didn't regenderify it. Like, they still called her Prince Ajax instead of Princess.
How good does she look?
Oh, God.
Like, what deal with the devil did Salma Hayek
I
make?
do not know.
And how can I sign up? Because she looks amazing.
And Angelina Jolie.
Yes. Like, just amazing.
Yeah.
And not, like, fake amazing or, like, I mean...
They look their age.
If they've had plastic surgery done, it's incredibly good plastic surgery because, like, they look just beautiful and totally real. Like, yes. Just amazing. I mean, it's an attractive cast.
Oh yeah, they're a very pretty cast.
Oh, and I love that with Sprite, they didn't make her cutesy, feminine. Like, we were talking about how she's kind of reminds me of my daughter, you know, who's very, you know, non-gender conforming, and I really appreciated that. So
I thought she did a really good job.
Oh yes.
I thought you always kind of on the lookout for young actors.
Tough role to play.
Yeah.
You know, be maintaining your innocence and your puckishness almost with the worldview of having existed for 7,000 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's I thought she did a really good job.
It was a beautiful movie.
The costumes were fabulous. Their actual Eternal costumes.
And the CGI work with the gold thread and the geometric shapes.
That's always we've talked about it before. That's always been the strength of Marvel, is all their movies look different.
Yes.
They all have their own style and their own, and yet they all seem to blend together perfectly.
Right. They work together really well.
You know.
So, I mean, the scene at the beginning where Circe turns the bus into the flower petals, it's just like, I mean, it's very...
You know what I also really love? What I really love about this movie is, and this is kind of the upside to living in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the last 15 years. I love how the regular characters just accept it.
I know.
Like she turns out she's dating Kit Harington. She turns out to be an attorney. He's like, oh, okay.
So you're a wizard, like Dr. Strange.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, okay.
So you can turn me into a giraffe.
Yeah, and what's his and Karan's husband, who's just like, okay,
Faustus's husband.
Yeah, Faustus' husband, who's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, and Karan, the cameraman.
You gotta go save the world.
Yeah, they're just like, that's the world we live in.
Oh my gosh, the running joke about his valet thinking he was a vampire and trying to stake him. There's just like, I loved the humor. That's what
they were so I think this movie has
it's got charm.
There's no such thing so far as a bad Marvel film.
No.
They have not made a bad one.
Not since this MCU.
Not since what?
Not since this version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, well,
We're talking about Edward Norton Hulk.
Well, no. I liked Edward Norton Hulk. I will debate you on Edward Norton Hulk. I actually think it is one of the most underrated films.
I just think that era of superhero movies when everything had to be dark and gritty and take place in a factory was...
I will never dispute that Mark Ruffalo is a better Hulk.
Oh, he's a great Hulk.
I will never dispute that, but I actually thought Edward Norton's Hulk, The Incredible Hulk, is actually a really good film, and I think it deserves more attention than it gets, to be completely honest. But that's a discussion for another time. But so there are a lot of pluses to this. It's just they've fallen and they have to fall back into their pattern, and I think that's what really hurt this movie, is all the good stuff has to take a sidestep whenever they have to kick the plot back into, especially when you consider, I was wondering watching this, and I've been wondering since the beginning, why they decided to go with the Eternals. We understand why we want to have a a more diverse cast, and this is the best way to kind of do it.
Right.
But in terms of the larger picture, the larger universe, and the best I can think of is they're doing this basically to set the table for Fantastic Four.
You think so?
Because, the Fantastic Four, deal with a lot of, Galactus, who's a celestial. They deal, the Silver Surfer. They deal with all this weird outer space bullshit. And kind of like when they did Guardians of the Galaxy, in terms of the larger narrative, that was to get the audience used to all the alien races, Thanos as a driving force, So, this one I was like, why? What is this going to do for the... And I feel like we could have done that and let them have their own movie and not have it have to be go so paint by numbers there towards the end.
It did get a little paint by numbers.
And I feel like that's what really hurt this movie. I liked this movie, but I didn't love it the way I've loved other Marvel films.
It's not Black Widow.
It's not Black Widow. It's not the Avengers films. It's not, It's not even like Shang-Chi or, any of those. It's an okay entry.
Shang-Chi, which replaced Zac Efron with Simu I am a
He's a handsome man.
Stan now.
He's a handsome man. I can't deny it.
But yeah, I think it had a lot of good points, and it had a lot of potential for the characters in the future. I wish that some of the characters had survived, and I'm hoping they're able to bring them back.
Well, the upside, I was thinking about that too, is they were really smart in terms of their sequel baiting, because they established early on that the Eternals. I think you were in the rest. You stepped out to take your phone call actually when this happened. They kind of established that the Eternals. The whole thing is they're on the planet. They're supposed to make the population grow to a certain point until the egg monster living in the core of the Earth has enough energy or whatever to hatch and then destroy the Earth.
Which does explain climate change.
Yes.
But
but one of the things they said is that what happens is that the Eternals, when the world blows up, they die,
into a different...
and then the big celestial thing basically reclones them. Their memories are all stored somewhere, and he just starts over. That they've been doing this for billions and billions of years.
Which explains the mad weary.
That was the thing that was affecting Angelina Jolie.
Right.
So they have an out to bring all of the characters who died back.
Right.
Like they have that already built in. So that was pretty smart. They knew right away. It's like, okay.
Which is good, because those were characters that deserve more screen time.
So I liked it. I didn't love it. So I don't know anything else.
I loved the characters.
I loved the characters. I love the characters and the actors. The cast is, like I said, it's top notch. It's a phenomenal cast.
Right.
And they work so well together. They are a wonderful.
And I just love seeing all the diversity that they put out there.
And let's just stress that for a second. I don't want to stress it, because I feel like if we're going to grow, we need to stop having to worry about stressing it. But let's look at this. You had a gay superhero. You had a deaf superhero. You had a superhero with mental illness. The world is still spinning.
Yep. Nobody
was corrupted.
I know.
You don't have to think of the children.
I know. And the gay superhero kissed his husband.
Yes. Which I thought I was very happy about that, because it's like they're not just going to go, oh, they're cutesy network TV gay where they're living together. They're friends. They're roommates.
Yes.
It's like, no, they kissed. You're like,
they were such good friends.
Yeah, and you're like, and look, nobody died. People died. The world.
Not because of that.
The movie kept on spinning. It's like.
I've been impressed with Disney and the gay representation lately. Thinking about Jungle Cruise, and for it to be like a family-centered movie like that, and just have a gay character. Yeah. I think that's great. But
I think what I liked about this one a little bit more than I liked about Jungle Cruise is this one. It was not like a big reveal. I always feel like the Jungle Cruise one, or like Cruella. I feel like they're shining a spotlight on it, going, look, we're woke. This one's just like, guy's gay.
Yeah, they didn't even. It wasn't even a thing or a conversation, or nobody met. Nobody said anything.
Yeah, they're just like,
Yeah.
She's like, here's his husband. That, you know,
Here's his kid, here's his husband, yeah.
fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, I like. I think that's the way it should be. It should be more. It should be presented as normal.
You know,
and not like ooh, here they've got to shine a spotlight on this character. It's like, no, he's gay.
You know, it's the thing, like, being a parent of a gay kid, it was the idea that it's so accepting and we're so loving towards people no matter of their sexual preference now, that she didn't even feel like she didn't have to come out per se. She could just be like, this is who I'm dating now. This is,
and we just go, okay, no,
exactly.
really?
And that's, I mean, isn't that the ideal? Just to get to
that is exactly the ideal.
Yeah, where no one has to come out, no one has to announce anything. It just is.
Yeah, and I think this movie did a great job with that. Okay, anything else to add before we wrap up with final grade and all that?
No, put Ma Dong-suk in more movies, please.
Yep.
I'll watch any of them.
All right. So final grade for you for the Eternals.
You know, I think I have to go B+. Because you're right, the plot did kind of meh, and it really did go on too long with the plot. If it would have been just 2.5 hours of characters interacting, that would have been perfectly fine. But yeah, but B+ because the characters were phenomenal and the cast was great. And go Kumail Nanjiani. I love to see a geek make good.
All right. I gotta go just one step lower. I gotta go a B-. For all the reasons that you mentioned. For me, it was just a little bit more grading that I understand why they don't, and they took so many chances. They take so many chances. Does Marvel, so you can't really fault them. But I think in terms of their story structure and their reliance on kind of the stock plot,
right?
I think I have to say to them, guys, gals, whatever, you have the clout built up. You can change the formula. You know, maybe it won't pay off right away. It might mean the box office might be a little lower. It might mean the critical reaction isn't, because, oh, this isn't Marvel. But I think long term, it will pay off.
Right.
And let's face it, you're not hurting for money. So it's not like if this thing, doesn't make back $1 trillion, you're gonna have to go on food stamps. So
unless they keep doing malarkey like they did with Scarlett Johansson and having
yeah, good point.
Yeah.
But I think a good film. I'll be interested to see what they do for a sequel or what they do with the continuing story. But all in all, good characters that saved a not great plot.
Right.
So, but that's not the worst thing I can say. So that's it for this one. We're gonna try to hit a few more of these, do a couple more reviews, as the holiday season and as the year starts to wrap up and starting to compile top 10 lists.
I still gotta force you to watch Lamb.
You do. we may see if we can rent that one. But anyway, but thank you for joining us as always. We of course will always return. And thank you very much. And as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.